Feeling chilly? SG Heating and Cooling. Fixing it right, day or night. SG Heating and Cooling is located at 7005 Cooley Lake Road in West Bloomfield. SG offers free estimates on new equipment and 0% interest financing for up to 18 months. Eligible equipment qualifies for rebates from Consumers Energy and DTE. SG will clean your furnace, verify it is working properly, and perform a safety inspection for only $59. SG also offers duct cleaning and sanitizing starting at $300. You can find us on the web at sgheatingcooling.com or call 248-242-6730 today for all of your heating and cooling needs. SG Heating and Cooling, fixing it right, day or night. 248-242-6730.
You're listening to CRBRadio.com. The words and opinions you are about to hear are of the hosts and do not reflect the management, sponsors, or affiliates of Cave Radio Broadcasting.
This the real nonsense, you better call in. Tune in, you might even hear your best friend. You know we live every Saturday, better tap in. Got some real knowledge for all you young men. Not just for men, it's for ladies too. All ages, we don't care if you 82. Cause it's the real nonsense. The real nonsense. For real, let me hear that.
Coming to you live a stone's throw from the Motor City and courtesy of Cave Radio Broadcasting Studios in fabulous Redford, Michigan. This is The Real Nonsense, hosted by Dr. Chris Rogers and Melody Walker. And today's episode of The Real Nonsense is brought to you by...
The Real Nonsense is sponsored by Melodic Retirement Services, LLC. Prepare for your future today. For more information or to make an appointment for a consultation, call Melody J. Walker at 248-301-2439. Mel, we're back in the studio. We're live. We're back.
Yes.
The virtual trip is over, and we're live, and we're here. And today our special guest is entrepreneur and podcast host and founder of the Amazing Woman Network, Miss Crystal Gunn is in the house.
Welcome.
Today, she's in the house. The queen is in the house today. So we're going to sit and talk to the queen about everything that she's working on and everything she's doing. So, Crystal, why don't you give our listeners just a little background, on who you are first and what the Amazing Woman Network is and how that came about.
Sure.
Great.
So thank you guys for having me here. I'm excited. I have been waiting for this. I am Crystal L. Gunn, founder.
The glasses fly. By the way, I gotta say it.
Thank you.
The glasses
See?
fly.
So you take back what you said earlier.
I take it back.
Okay. All
What
right.
did you say earlier?
But the oh wait a minute, I just checked out the hoodie.
I know the hoodie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's ill,
P3.
right?
Yeah,
P3. P3 is the mission.
Pray, prophesy. That's
Yeah.
what we call
Wow, preach, pray, and prophesy. Got it.
Yeah.
That's deep.
it. Are we are we being fashionable today?
There's a lot going on
I
in here
think it's
today.
like because
Fly
Chris came here
glasses.
with that hard jacket with the Egyptian king on it, and I'm like, okay, Chris, how can I get one of those
Right,
jackets?
what's going on in here today? There's a lot going on.
And then Eric shaved his beard.
Did you?
He did trim it down a little bit.
I
It's
was about to
trimmed.
say no.
It was all
Not that I
over
knew,
here.
but-
He trimmed it.
No. Yeah.
He trimmed it.
It's a little cleaned up. Not
Yeah,
much.
it is.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Not as
Okay.
not as much as my boss wanted it to be. I'll tell you
Okay.
that much.
I love it.
Anywho,
Anywho, yeah.
Okay, so I am founder of the Amazing Woman Network. Little history, let's take it back. Because you asked how did it come about. I was vice president of a credit union. I was vice president of a credit union in Pontiac. This was, obviously, my child is 21. This was pre
yeah.
her.
Okay.
I was the only female and only black African American vice president in the entire Oakland County chapter of credit unions.
Wow.
Did that, got married.
That says a lot.
Got married. My husband and I, at that time, we opened mortgage company. Did that for a while. Had my baby girl, and 5 years in, we got divorced. I still ran a mortgage company because I was a broker of record.
Okay.
Mortgage industry crashed. So did my business.
That was like 2008. Okay.
Mortgage industry crashed. So did my business. What do I do now? So you got business debt, personal debt, everything that came along with that. depression, shot self-esteem because it crashed. It wasn't my fault, but I still felt a certain kind of way, right?
Yeah.
And even though the divorce I filed, those still were failures, and I wasn't accustomed to failing at anything, right? And went through that, and it's funny, I just told a story earlier today. I was at dinner with a friend of mine. Pure pity party mode. Woe is me. Woe is me. And he listened to the story, and he knew what was going on, but he listened to my story and looked me dead in my eye when I was done, and he said, Crystal, your story is not special. And I was like, what? And he said, listen, everybody is either going through something, been through something, or about to go through something.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, that's not what defines you. What defines you is what you do now.
Yes.
And that was a pivotal moment for me because my response was, I said, okay, I hear you, but I don't know what to do now. And he said, I'll tell you. He said, you go home, cry tonight if you want to. I get it. He said, never again cry over money, though. He said, but you cry tonight in the morning. He said, you wake up, you have a praise fest. You praise God for everything he's done for you, everything he's about to do for you, and ask him, what are you supposed to do?
Let's get it. There we go.
And I said, okay.
I like that friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I went home. I was done, had been crying enough, and what are we gonna keep crying for? And I just went into that mode, and I said, okay, God, this is not what my life is supposed to look like. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. Use me as you see fit.
Okay.
And when you say that, you really got to be ready.
And yeah, for real.
Right?
Exactly.
You don't know what he gonna bring.
You don't know
Exactly.
what he gonna throw at you, but it
Exactly.
was instantaneously that just the download started coming with what I was supposed to do. And one of those things was you're supposed to empower and unite Black women globally under the pillars of reclaiming our personal power, mind, body, and spirit, reclaiming our financial power, and increasing our social involvement. And I was like, financial power? Do you not know what's going on in my financial world right now?
Yeah.
But I realized God will give you a glimpse into something. It might not be for today, but He's going to show you what it is that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And but then I went about doing what I was instructed to do. And I say the only thing truly that I take credit for is that I was obedient and I wrote down what I was supposed to do. So if he would download this, I don't know when I'm going to use it, but I'm going to write this stuff down. And I had stacks and stacks of notebooks of programs. And so went about this thing. And I went back to that same friend and I said, you know what? I was told that this is what I'm supposed to do. How am I supposed to empower women? And he said, walk your journey. You'll be surprised at who you empower. And as I still had a journey that I had to go through, but I realized that I was told that and had to walk that journey so that when women came around, it's a judge-free zone, right? But I could empathize, sympathize, and I understood. And so the biggest part of what I do, especially from the financial empowerment side, is when you're in a storm, you don't know how to get out of that storm. So part of what I do is I go in that storm and I take your hand and I lead you out.
I love that.
Because I've been through it.
Okay.
And so everything that I do today is about empowering women first, my community second, but under those pillars.
Absolutely. So before the show started, we were talking about another guest that came on that has the Ladies Entrepreneur Empowerment Circle, and then you're a part of Empowerment, and then it's also Women's History Month.
It is
March, and so now we have these women that have these empowerment kind of efforts to empower women and to bring us together, and so how are we going to, in terms of just like, there's an organization over here and there's an organization over there, what efforts can we kind of use to bring those two maybe organizations together? And we were talking about the Red Dot campaign that you have. And so let's talk about that a little bit, because that's something that other women who are a part of empowerment organizations come in and maybe help you with what you're doing.
Yep. So the Amazing Woman Network has a nonprofit side called AWN Cares. And so, I don't know, probably about 6-7 years ago at this point, I read an article that said people don't donate sanitary supplies to shelters because they're expensive. So I'm done with this jacket. I'm done with the gear. You're going to donate that because you're done with it. But to go out and buy sanitary supplies, they don't do it because they're expensive. And so at that point, I just started putting them together in bags and donating them to shelters because
There you go.
Yeah. And so it grew, and then the women in the network said, well, wait a minute. And they took it to a whole nother level. So
Okay.
we will donate to shower programs, shelters, schools. And it's crazy because you would think that a school wouldn't need sanitary supplies. But teachers call and like, wait, we need them. I need them for my classroom. I need them for,
Absolutely.
and there's this very real thing called period poverty. Not only here, but across the globe. And it's something that should not be. And I always, so we have annual fundraisers. We have packing parties where we pack the supplies then to deliver them out. And I was telling you before when we first got here that if you look back, because people will think, well, why is that a thing? Even my mother was like, well, wait, really? She was like, that's really a thing. And I'm like, period poverty really is a thing. And if you think about, remember the images that we saw right after lockdown started happening, and then for the rest of the year, people in food lines where places was giving away food, and you would see the cars going up and back and up and back. That's the same population that needs sanitary supplies. So if I don't have the money for food, guess what? I also don't have the money for sanitary supplies, right? And so just trying to be able to do that part. So just really trying to take it to another level because it's just a need everywhere. There's not a teacher that I talk to, I don't care what school it is inside an urban area, they all say the same thing. Absolutely. I need supplies for my classroom. Girls don't come to school when they're on their cycle because they don't have supplies. So it's that basic thing that you think, wait a minute, you skipping school? No, I'm skipping school because I don't have the supplies that I need to come to that. So looking forward to being able to touch women organizations across the globe, because again, this is a global thing, that are empowering women and are doing things in the community already. How can we come together to help end that period poverty? So
Yeah, I think that's beautiful because I didn't even know like it was like a global thing.
It's a thing.
It's like you think about, even having like, a young daughter, and they just starting, he's like that already within itself is overwhelming. And then to think about, and just teaching young girls about, just hygiene and basic things, and we need that. Young girls need that. So, go ahead, Chris. I don't have a question. No, I'm waiting on you.
No, but I think that's on point. I think that's on point. So I want to talk about so the Women's Network. You started a Women's Network, right? The Amazing Women Network, and then I see your shirt that says Flawless, right? So Flawless. That's part of the branding for the network, right?
So that's part of the branding for me on the financial side that I do, and it's an acronym and it's an affirmation, right? Because remember, I'm all things about financial empowerment.
Acronym and affirmation,
right?
Okay, break it down for us.
Financially literate, amazing women, learning economic success strategies.
Now, how long did it take you to put that together?
Listen, true story. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
It was not me. It's so amazing, and I'm so blessed that although I do this organization for women,
right?
Throughout the years, it's been men for real who have just supported and helped me, and I mean, like just my homeboys for real. Even you, Chris. I mean, you a new homeboy, but
I'm new. I'm new on the block.
You new on the block, but I so appreciate that. So I had part of one of those downloads from God was this 40-day workbook for women, financial workbook for women.
I love that.
Yeah, and it just was, oh my God, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I had it. I didn't really have a name for it. I always talk about take back your power financially. La 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 la. Didn't have a name for it. So I was running a housing counseling agency, and I told the woman that worked with me, I said, okay, housing counseling agencies, you do this financial literacy courses. And I said, we got to do it the way I know we need to do it. And I said, it's time for me to do these classes, these workshops, and put this workbook out. And I literally text a friend of mine, a guy, and he said, and I just text him. I said, hey, I got this financial workbook that I want to do, and I like acronyms. And within 5 minutes, he came back with flawless. So I can't take any credit for it.
Wow.
I can't.
That was just a gift given to you.
Yeah, it was like, here you go, and I was like, oh, okay. And it
That's
works.
dope.
And it stuck.
And it stuck.
dope.
I want to ask you about, you said, I want to do it the way that I know that it needs to be done.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Because there are when you have people from these corporate organizations that come do financial workshops, they're giving you real high level information, but it's really all about the numbers. But what I know in our community is it's more than just the numbers. You got to peel back layers. It's what we haven't been taught. It's what we were taught, what we've seen, what we've overheard. It's all of that. It's the things that have been passed down from generation to generation that are negatively impacting us. And so when we talk about those generational curses, we got to talk about something other than, oh, he's going to be the first person to go to college. Those are not really so for me, it was, I can't just talk about the numbers. I got to peel back the layers.
Yeah.
I got to let you and help you figure out why you operate the way that you operate, because you don't even know. Right.
And what is that connected to?
Exactly.
And why you spend like this.
It's interesting you say that, because growing up for me, financial literacy was not a part of my development as youth. It just wasn't. Like managing bank account, here's a checkbook, that kind of thing. It wasn't. And then when I was in class today, I was talking to my students, and we were talking about the same subject, right? And they were talking about their investment in learning and academics and getting degrees to get jobs. And I would explain to them, hey, a degree is an investment in your future.
For sure.
And then we got on the subject of grades. Hey, I want an A, I want an A, I want an A. And I'm thinking like, okay, what you really want is the knowledge.
That's what you really want.
Right. Because the grade is only as good as the grader.
Say that again, please.
The grade, for those of you who are in education, the grade is only as good as the grader. So if the grader doesn't have the right knowledge set but can just mark something, then what does that leave the learner with?
Correct.
Right? So we started talking about it, but the financial literacy part is so impactful, because had I gotten that information early in my 20s or my teens, then I would have done a lot of things differently. Not saying I'd be rich now. I'm not saying that. But I definitely would have done things differently.
Correct.
Right? Because I didn't understand the impact of credit, credit scores. I didn't understand the investment part, the interest on investing and saving and all those type of things that maybe some parents teach their kids. But in the hood, didn't know it. But now fast forward, our kids, I went to a school the other day. Kid sat next to me, pulled out a check, $750.
Come on.
This is my paycheck, Dr. Rogers. I'm like, for real? I was like, for real?
Okay.
I make this every 2 weeks.
Wow.
I'm like, you in 11th grade though.
Now,
and then what to do with that though?
Right. What are you doing
That's
with
what I was
it?
about to say.
Yeah.
Right. What are you doing with it?
Yeah.
But see, our children have become entrepreneurs, and
Absolutely.
what they see now.
And we still need to be educated on what to do with the money. Because I too went into adulthood ignorant about credit, the things that I should be doing as far as saving, retirement accounts and things like that. Like I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And so it is a movement that we kind of have to do, especially I like what you're saying as far as empowering women to be financially literate, and I wouldn't say literate, but just more conscious and making those strategic moves that what you do today is helping you for your tomorrow, and then it goes back to behaviors, because a lot of the times we just think that we don't have it. And what I'm finding is that financial service, well, even I being in financial services, it's not just for people that have boatloads of money.
Come on. If you don't
if you don't have no money, you need to talk to me. And so sometimes people will shun you because they know that you work in financial services. Like, oh, I'm not ready for that. Yeah. Oh, I don't want to talk about that right now. And it's like, no, but you need to be talking to me today.
So my mother is this kind of teacher. So when I was in school, I had a scholarship, but my mother, who single parent, always sent me money. So every 2 weeks, from the day I enrolled in school to the day I walked, the FedEx truck pulled up, She sent me $200 FedEx every 2 weeks.
Bless your mama.
But
FedEx, 'cause you know that was a while ago.
But I squandered it.
Every 2 weeks, because you knew it was coming.
Right.
So you
I
like,
knew it
this
was
is my
coming.
haircut money, this is my
Right.
jack off money.
So I did my little hood math right now.
Right, because every 2 weeks, that's 26 weeks.
$20,000 I could have walked out of college with.
Now
Walked.
here, now, watch this. Let's take it one step further. Let's say when you were born, your mama said, every 2 weeks I'm putting $200 in a bank account for him.
Oh my God.
Not no bank account.
Well, I'm saying to start it in
Yeah,
a bank
to
account
start,
and
yeah.
then put it
And
into
then-
something
yeah,
higher
okay,
earning.
right,
Absolutely.
okay.
Because you should never leave your money in the bank account. But let's just say she started doing that. From the time you were, do your hood math on that. Let's just say
Right.
she started doing that. Your life when you graduated college would look totally different.
Yeah.
Imagine if she'd started an LLC for you
Exactly.
and was paying you that $200 out
Come
of this
on.
company that's in your name
And
and
every
building up that
12,000,
company's
yeah,
credit
Yeah.
the whole time.
But see,
whole
this
time.
is what we're not talking
Right.
about, and
Yeah.
this is the
This is
knowledge
true.
that
And
we're
this is
holding on to.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I never even thought
get
about
it out.
that.
Exactly.
Let's
But
get it
he's
out.
right.
Right. Like, damn, Eric, I never thought about that.
There's no parent that shouldn't be doing this for their
There's
children.
no
Right.
parent that
For sure.
However, what you don't know, you don't know. I spoke with a woman the other day, and she was looking to buy a house, and she had $100,000 sitting in a bank account. You know, I fell out my chair because I said you have $100,000 sitting in the bank account
What's wrong with that?
because it's not paying you any interest.
Got-
It's
there we
paying
go.
you
Got it.
0.03,
right? It's
when you
like-
can be getting like 6-7% in
Yeah.
the indexed account. Like so yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay,
so
wow.
I had to give her credit because she said,
What is that? Oh, let me ask you this.
yeah.
So, you know, that banking mentality is generational. Because my grandfather put the money in the bank, put the money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we're trained to think, put your money
Yeah.
in the bank.
So
That's because we want to access it.
we have to unlearn and relearn a whole lot of stuff. And I had to give her credit. I said, well, hold on. I said, first of all, you're going to get this money out this bank account. But I had to give her credit because it was the money that she got, Social Security. Her son's father had died, and she
Okay.
got so instead of spending it and squandering it,
She stacked.
she stacked it for him. So she did a good thing. But just think of what that number would look like if she had put it in a vehicle where she was getting 6 or 7% interest on it, or had gone down the LLC route and done those things, right? And so we don't know what we don't know. So she did what she knew and thought was right, and I did have to commend her on that. But I'm like, well, now we need to change the mindset a little bit, and you got to do something different. Merrill Lynch did they did a study on just women, right, across all ethnicities. They said like 62% of women said that they would rather talk about their own death than money.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's very crazy.
Yeah. And I don't.
Because I'd rather talk about money. I can't stand death conversations. I can't. Like,
Yeah.
I get anxiety immediately. Like, I don't like talking about that. But
But
I
I-
wonder why.
That's what I was about to ask. Why do you think that is, Crystal?
I
Why would women want to talk more about dying than money management right now?
I absolutely think that answer is going to be different. I don't think it's going to be the same across ethnicities, right?
Okay.
But I know let's just talk about in the black community, right? What we don't want to talk about it, but everything says that we need to go out and we need to look a certain kind of way. We got to have this, we got to
Right.
have that. It's going out and telling you get the money from this man and that, right? And so, but this society and what's being fed and what's being taught is if you don't have these things, you're less than. So I don't want to tell you that I don't have it because then now you know
I don't have it.
I don't have it.
Right.
And right now I don't feel worthy, so I'm definitely not going to tell you that. So I'm going to fake it until I make it. And as long as you think I have it,
No.
then I'm okay.
Then I could keep putting on. I think it goes back to, and I like what you said too, Crystal, about the behaviors and understanding. Maybe is it psychology and maybe just understanding who we are individually, because a lot of the times. I think not just women, people in general attribute their worth and their value to what they've acquired, what they've accomplished. And so I am valuable and I am worthwhile whether I have a degree or I don't have a degree. I am valuable, I'm worthwhile whether I'm rich or I'm broke. Like my self-value comes from just an innate sense of worth that is
Yours.
developed through birth from
Yours.
just being loved, right? But sometimes we don't get that. And so we end up acquiring certain things, and then they become what we identify as what makes me worthy. And so, like you said, that's when those facades come in and say, oh, well, if you don't know my business, then you only know what I tell you. And so you don't know what I'm going through. And so it's also a place of like honesty, like really just being honest about where you are, identifying that, because really in our community, we really do have to peel even that part back and really get back to the root of things and just say, because sometimes we do come from families that maybe have started some accounts for us and we inherited some things, and we still, and those are blessings, but it's kind of rare.
And we have to understand that we're not taught this intentionally. Like, I mean, it's by design that they don't teach this in school. Because if I want you to go to school, get a job, work for me, and make my family rich, why would I teach you about?
And you're gonna come out in debt.
You're right. Why am I gonna teach you about? Right. And everyone has a financial relationship, and most of the time, that financial relationship was defined by someone else. It was created by someone else. So people don't recognize that what you saw, what you were told, what you were taught, and what you weren't taught, and what you overheard growing up impacts you to this day.
Absolutely.
So if you saw your parents working from before sun up to after sundown and still couldn't make ends meet, and you wonder why am I working from before sun up to after sundown and I can't make ends meet? That's because your mindset has been conditioned to think that the more you work, the less money you make, right? So you have to peel back those layers and unlearn and then refine and redefine your relationship with money and credit so that it looks the way that you want it to look. And you're going to need help doing that.
And that's why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're here. That's why I do what I do.
So you know what? I want to ask you a few quick questions. I'm going to ask you some quick questions just straight off the cuff.
Okay.
I'll ask you the question. You can just give me the answer. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, right? So I'm going to come at it.
I feel the pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure.
Who's better saving money, men or women?
I don't even have an answer for that.
No?
Who's better at saving money?
Managing money.
Managing money.
Yeah. Let's say manage. In your opinion.
Probably men.
Men? Okay.
But I don't know.
That's hard.
That's because now I would be giving my thought process and not a fact. So
What's
the
better,
next question?
cash or credit?
Credit. Shoot. Credit is better so that you can keep your cash. If you use, so I will talk to people all the time and they'll say, oh, I don't believe in credit. What you don't believe in is the debt, and you don't understand the value of credit. Once you understand and can use credit properly, your answer is going to always
keep your cash
be credit.
in your pocket.
Always. Okay.
Always.
Rent or buy?
It depends
On?
the individual, right? And so when I work with clients and when I answer questions like this, I don't believe there is a cookie cutter thing that's going to fit everybody, right?
Okay.
Everybody doesn't wear a size 7 shoe, women, right? And so I think you have to look at that situation. So if I took two individuals, right? If I took this family who she has kids, she's looking for stability, husband and wife, buying might be better. But if I'm a 29 or 30-year-old and my business is on the internet, I can do my business from wherever. Do I really need to own a house that I don't own? I just now have a mortgage because you don't own it. They just so either way, you're really renting, right? You renting from the landlord or you're renting from the mortgage company until you own that property free and clear. So I just think it depends on, that answer depends on the person. I may rent because I don't want to be tied down to a specific place, but I also may own 5 rental properties, right?
Okay.
So I do believe we should own homes, but do we necessarily need to own the one that we live in? It depends on the individual. And I think once you then start to dive into that, that answer becomes clear based on that person.
Vehicles, buy or lease?
Again, It's going to depend on the individual. Because some people, who was it your wife that said, I want a new car, I don't want to get it fixed, I don't want to go to somebody?
No, actually, it's the opposite.
It was you. No,
That's me.
right. With
That's
the
me.
lease.
Make no doubt about that.
Yeah.
That's me. My wife's position is I'm going to buy the car. I'm going to pay the whole car off.
Right.
And then I'm buy another car.
Yeah.
I'm totally the opposite of that.
And so, I
Never.
don't necessarily think there's and some people would disagree with me. I don't necessarily think there is a better. I don't believe in car notes, right? I don't believe in that expense for something that's going to depreciate the moment that I drive it off the lot. So I'm going to try to cash out whatever that is. Right?
So in general, you saying buy?
No. In
Oh.
general, I'm saying it depends on the individual.
Okay.
That's my preference. So when we had to buy my daughter a truck, right? It was like, well, we about to cash this out because I don't want a car note for her. I don't have a car note for me, right? I don't.
Okay.
So but my mother, right? Until my dad, I mean, even still now, it was a thing where he always bought him a car. He cashed him a car out, and they traveled a lot and drove across country. But they always had a lease vehicle for her every couple years, and it was the top end and top whatever, right? And so I think it just, again, depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish and what it is, you know, what you believe. And you want to take it to the dealer, get it fixed. I don't want to worry about none of that, right?
Never.
So and so I just don't think that there's necessarily, and again, other experts are going to have their questions and concerns.
Absolutely.
But I look at the individual and say what works for you.
Right.
Now there are some things that are going to be straight off. No, you need to you need to be paying your bills with your credit cards. I'm going to tell you that. I don't care who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Two more. Mm-hmm. Conventional banks, credit union.
Both.
Both.
Because again, it's going to depend on where you are, right? I always say you need an account at a bank, you need an account at a credit union. They do some of the same things, but then they also do different things, right? So, and then you have the ability, okay, I'm going to get a mortgage. Well, you have this relationship with this credit union. What are their programs and rates versus this conventional, you know, normal bank? But I think you need to have the relationships with both of them so that you can benefit from the relationships.
Okay, last one. Conventional currency, Bitcoin. I have to ask because, you know, I'm still not up on that, and I don't get it. But
I'm going to say, listen, cryptocurrency is and this whole NFT and blockchain thing, it's shaking up the world, and it's going to be the biggest transfer of wealth. I don't care if you don't know anything about it, you need to own it. There was an interview where Mike Tyson said, hey, I don't know nothing about Bitcoin, but I own some. He was like, I'm going to learn it. But today, I own some, right? So we don't have to know about it today, but you definitely need to study it and earn some. Or again, especially when I talk about people in my community, if we don't, you're going to be left behind.
So I'm kind of ignorant to it. So is it like you just take conventional currency and just
you can buy
you buy the Bitcoin?
Yeah, you can buy Bitcoin just like you buy stock, and it's fractional because I don't.
And then store it in an online account somewhere or whatever.
On the blockchain, and all of those things happen on the blockchain.
And it accrues interest if you just let it sit there.
I mean, and it's going to do just like stocks. It's going up and
Oh,
down.
up and down.
It's going up and down. And listen, so I started buying Bitcoin probably 6-7 years ago.
What?
No, stop.
You made money off of
I swear I just heard of Bitcoin's been around that long.
Listen,
Heck
yes,
yeah.
I started
for about 20
buying it.
years.
I didn't know that. I swear I didn't know that.
Started buying it, and then for whatever stupid and crazy reason, I stopped. But had I continued,
Yeah, you would have been straight,
I would not
super
be sitting
straight.
right here right now with y'all because I would
That's
be in Costa
right.
Rica.
Come
Costa
on.
Rica.
'Cause the people that started,
Yes.
the people that started like 20 years ago, like when it first came out, and like people were like,
I shouldn't have stopped.
they're
Because it
millionaires
wasn't-
now.
Yeah, it wasn't $53,000 for one coin 5 years ago.
That's
So,
right.
so it's buying Bitcoin is no different than investing in stocks and stuff like that, right? It's the same.
On its surface, easy level.
It's closer to a financial exchange than buying stocks. Like it's
So you cash it out whenever you want, though?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have term limits and all that to cash it.
And this whole blockchain thing is
That's-
changing the way. I mean, people
could-
are now putting contracts on blockchain,
Absolutely.
trusts on that
Art,
blockchain,
NFTs.
art,
We could do
NFTs.
a whole completely different show just about
Absolutely.
that.
Several, but
sure.
yeah. So yeah, it's
Wow.
So if you don't have any, start buying some.
On Bitcoin. I was scared to do it.
And if you're scared, that's fine. Read about what blockchain technology
Yes.
is. Just keep your eye on that. Cryptocurrency is what it is. It's crazy. It's wild. It's weird. And of course, money is the first thing they would use this for. Blockchain technology is going to change so many
Everything.
things in so many ways that just that's what you need to be learning about.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yep.
that's deep.
For
And
sure.
I every time I'm somewhere and I'm talking in front of a crowd, I was on somebody's radio show last night. That's the one thing that I say at the end. If you didn't take anything away from what I said, study, learn it, invest.
So it's not like the Canadian exchange. I give you $1 in American money, I get $5 in Canadian money. Bitcoin is not like, so it's the even exchange for the value, correct? So I spent $1,000
it's
to
not.
get.
You're buying a fraction of the Bitcoin. So like the Bitcoin is 55,000 altogether or something like that. And let's say you want
For
to
one Bitcoin.
Yeah, so if you spend $500, you're gonna have whatever percent ownership of that $53,000 Bitcoin. Now, if it goes up to 100,000, the Bitcoin, and then your share, now what you bought at $500 will go up because the Bitcoin has gone up.
Buy
Oh.
some. I'm just gonna
Okay.
buy some.
Yeah, I think
Just-
I might have to look into that.
You
That sounds.
definitely have.
I started mine with Robinhood. You just download it on your phone, and then you can transfer the money from your bank account, and then you can go ahead and just.
You have
And you have different Bitcoins. So you got what is it? Is it?
Ethereum and you
Yeah.
you have
There's different
There's
ones.
thousands if there's
thousands,
not more.
right?
Wow.
But you just have to start.
I
You gotta
promise you,
learn.
like when I heard about this like a couple years ago, I said this is a new thing, like a new fad. I never
Like last year, was that 2 years ago when Dogecoin went up? I got in at Dogecoin at like 3 cents. And so I had like 5,000 shares of like Dogecoin, but then it ended up going to 70 cents a share. So if you got in at 3 cents and you
Right.
could sell your 5,000 shares at 70 cents, a lot of people made a lot of money.
So yeah, it's a
So
lot. Of
we do
that.
have to kind of get in to it and not shy away from it just because we don't understand it. And like Krista was saying, just buy some, even if you just spend $20.
You need to own it.
Absolutely.
Just get some. Yeah.
Absolutely. So before I ask you the next question, I want to take a break to ad break. So for the finest and professional photography of all services of all types in the metropolitan Detroit area, contact Jared Davis Photography, where we make the magic the world will want to see.
For sure.
Call Jared Davis Photography at, she said, for sure.
I'm a fan.
At 567-343-1980. Yeah, I saw some of the work that he did for you. It's
Listen.
absolutely incredible.
Man, if you listen, y'all better call Jared. I'm just saying, y'all better call Jared.
Yeah, he's hot in the streets, and he's sponsor of
He's
this show.
hot in these.
He's one of the sponsors of this show with Melodic Retirement Services LLC. So yeah, that's great. That's great. So again, Jared Davis Photography, 567-343-1980. So when you have these meetings and conferences with American. With amazing. I don't know why I'm thinking American. See, I'm all on currency and Bitcoin. Y'all got me tripping over here because I'm thinking like I'm about to get paid. I'm about to get paid. Okay. So when you meet with the Amazing Woman Network, you do the financial aspect of it, I'm sure, because that's part of the empowerment part of it. But then, what other aspects are you touching on when the women meet together?
Personal power.
Personal power.
Mind, body, and spirit.
Mind, body, and spirit.
We're doing a campaign right now, Black Women Owning Our Amazing. So we have to remember that you were talking earlier about your self-esteem and how you feel about you and because you came from this home of love and you were raised. Everybody wasn't raised like
Having
that.
an innate self-worth
Yeah.
that's not related to a personal something exterior.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Look,
so
let me ask you this: if that's the case, should some of it be directed to address it proactively at a younger age?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
Like, what? Yeah,
But-
systemically.
But the other thing that happens is this world, man, will break you down.
It will.
But then, if you have women having children, then you got to address
You
them,
got to address
right? So
them
you
as
can
well.
hit it from both ends. Right?
So part of and it's interesting, and it was in later years that I said part of the reason why I think I was supposed to be the founder of the Amazing Woman Network was also to empower me, right? Because there's always the negative self-talk.
I love that.
Yeah, there's always the negative self-talk that's going to happen. And then if something happens, like, business crash, bankruptcy, divorce, all that, then it's like, okay, well, what's wrong with me? And I don't care how secure you are. Something is going to make you question that for yourself.
Okay.
And so I don't care how many zeros are behind your name, how many titles you have, how many positions you own, and staff you manage. Somewhere in there, it's something that's telling you, and we are our own worst critics. So it's something that's saying, oh, what do they call it? The imposter syndrome, right? And so so I've asked women before, what does your amazing look like? And they say, oh, I don't know. And it's like, and you from a man may say, well, what do you mean you don't know what your amazing looks like? But when you have society saying this, and I call it I don't know if we can cuss on the radio. So the BS bar.
You sure can cuss.
Okay, so
You can say whatever you want.
Don't cuss, girl.
so
We live. This is the real nonsense.
I call it and have coined it the bullshit bar.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And we know that if you look at the definition of bar, it winds up, it's something that keeps you out.
Yeah.
And so it says your hair got to look like this, your body got to look like this, you can't have this, you can't have that, you got to drive this, you got to dress this way, right? And so it's ever changing, it's unattainable, it's self-hate evoking bullshit bar. And so we have to then say, I'm going to stop chasing that thing, and I'm going to go back to a new standard, and it's my standard of amazing, because my amazing was established at birth. All this other stuff didn't make me amazing.
That's right.
I came here this way.
Amazing.
But somehow along the way, I've forgotten about that because I didn't get this job, because they overlooked me for this. This man cheated on me. This person happened. I filed bankruptcy. I la 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 la.
Whatever it is.
Right.
And I have had, I also do something called the Amazing Woman Entrepreneur, right? And we were in a session, and one of the things that I say, write your business masterpiece, how you want it to look. Don't worry about how you're going to get there, but how do you want it to look? If money wasn't an issue, people wasn't, what would you want it to look like in its grandest form? So that was a homework assignment, and they were supposed to come back, and we were going to read these masterpieces. And one woman said, and this is somebody who, I'm talking about engineer, go-getter, great, and she said, when she went to write it, the thing that kept happening and coming in her head was, who are you that you think you can accomplish this?
That's deep.
Kind of like
That's
what Lucifer said to Jesus when he was praying, and said, who do you think that you are, that you can, in the movie The Passion, if you remember the movie The Passion, he stood over here while he was praying, who do you think that you could save the world? Right. That you could do this sacrifice? And they and it's like you said, it's that negative voice that comes, and it's kind of like you have to be conscious enough to know it is not of God. Talking to you, because God wouldn't talk to you negative.
You need that sisterhood. So one of the ladies in it talks about every woman needs a we, right? And if you look at women, the W and the E, she says every woman needs a we. It doesn't matter if you have a spouse. It doesn't matter if you have a sister. You still need this thing for you that's gonna uplift you, motivate you, encourage you, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So I can remember, 15, 20 years ago, starting with movements like the Million Man March, things like that, all the way to now, where we have Black Lives Matter, those type of. For me, I think, and I'm down for I'm down, I am, but the sustainability sometimes it's for the moment, and then it fades, and then we go back to the same old behaviors. I mean, what would make it more sustainable? I've always thought about that.
You gotta stay plugged in.
Yeah, like why do we start these things and then we stop it when it shows it's working and it's productive and it's effective for our community?
Couple reasons. One, you gotta stay plugged in. If you don't stay plugged in, right, you have to stay plugged into the source. This light is gonna go out, this lamp, if it's not plugged into the power. So you gotta stay plugged in. The second thing is all the distractions. It's all the distractions, right? And then it's I'm doing okay in my house.
Right.
So why do I need to? and they've lost this whole concept of unity, and together we can do so much more. So
Yeah.
You
like
gotta stay.
the work, but sometimes the preservation, the perseverance, and the consistency in the work is important, right? Because the work is hard.
Yeah.
The work is hard.
hard.
The work is draining on the mind, the heart, the body, the mind, the spirit, and just being consistent in doing the work.
Yes.
You know, because I remember I was in Dearborn, and I was sitting talking to some of my students, and this was right when I got hired, because I was unemployed for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Henry Ford was the first to hire me back before the school district did. And I was sitting in my room, and some of my students were from the Middle East, and they were talking. I was talking, and I was sharing my story, and they were like, you know what? In our community, like we have, and I was sharing this with Jared the other day. I said we have like a fund that we donate to, and so when one of us gets laid off, we just make sure we help the other one, and we just keep it going like that, because we all we brothers, we family. And I'm thinking, like, are you serious? Like, that's incredible. Why is it that we can hang out and kick it and do parties and barbecues and everything, but then when things happen that are life-changing events, it's like, well, I don't have it.
no
I ain't
resources.
there.
Because
I ain't got
we
this.
have been conditioned to not support one another. There's so much self-hate that we have, and if I don't love me and mistrust of the person that looks like me, we've been robbed of our culture. We've been it's again layers and layers and layers and layers of things that we have to unlearn. And that's why. So I'm like this was a few years ago, and you all have probably seen this video, and I wish I could pull it up, but there was a concert, right? And kind of like Pine Knob, where you're sitting on the grass, right? And everybody was sitting down listening to the music, and it was one person that stood up and started dancing, right? And just for a while, this person was, just up dancing by himself, and people in the crowd was like, okay, this dude, right? And then somebody else got up and started dancing with him. And then after a while, 2 or 3 more people. And then after a while, it just turned into everybody that was on that hillside was up and dancing. I'm that crazy person who got up and started dancing in the first place. I believe we can change. I believe we can change the world. So I just keep, and it is hard. And when you don't have a team, and when people say they're going to do something and they don't do it, and you're like, I got all of this stuff that I need to do, it is hard.
I used to pay attention to a lot of things people would do, and would look like I would be one of the people in the back of the day would look at me, what's she doing? But now my mentality is, you do you, as long as you're not infringing on my rights and my pride, whatever. I don't care do you, do you. But I'm 55 now. It took that long for me to kind of gain that.
But I also want to know what do you looks like, because I want to help you do you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's part of the united front, in a sense, that we kind of have to do, because I think we do that as a community. We say, I'm doing me, you do you stay over there and I stay over here, and it's kind of like we are more stronger, and we have more I think empowerment impact when we unite together. And like you say, just like there's a brotherhood that says, okay, we're gonna put money in the pot if something goes down, we got some money to pull it from. And it's just like, having that really just coming with it just from a support standpoint. Like, we should automatically, and what can I do to help you, and how can your business help me, and just really having that conversation and just coming together, and not just saying I'm gonna do me and you do you, but what can we do for we again.
And that's a beautiful segue into where I'm going to go now.
Okay,
right?
let's go.
So there's been a recurring theme in this show all night, and we've kind of hit on it, and it's good because we got minds to think it,
right?
And that's finance, the financial literacy part of this, right? So we're at a point in time in this show now, and I'm glad you're here because this is perfect for you, right? So every 2 weeks we have a session of Retirement Talk with Mel.
Yep.
And it's sponsored by Melodic Retirement Services, Retire Healthy and Wealthy. So Melody, for the next 10 minutes, we're gonna have Retirement Talk with Mel.
Come on, Mel.
And we're gonna have some finance. But see, it's good.
I feel like I'm about to be on the spot, though.
Listen,
I don't know if
you are on the spot. But it's good that I'm sitting here with two people that I can learn from,
Right.
that the audience can learn from, that we can engage in this type of conversation. And it's two sisters, and that makes it, for me as a black man, even more impactful, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. I learned a lot of my financial literacy in my adult years, in the last 5 years, from my wife.
Yeah.
I did.
And think about it.
I did.
People
Because she was
ask-
like, get it.
I like that you said that,
listen,
Chris.
Before we got married, get it together. Not rich, not get rich,
But
not
yeah, get it
come
together.
stack.
Get it together.
Get it
Yeah.
together.
Get it together.
Listen, I have a plug here. I have a book, two financially flawless questions. One is the single mother's edition. One is the couples edition.
Okay.
I do premarital, what's the word?
Premarital.
Thank you, because
Premarital.
I was not saying it. but financial counseling.
Right.
Because it's important. And
It
so
breaks marriages up.
it's the number 2 cause of divorce behind infidelity.
Yeah.
But the books have questions. We have to start having conversations because remember what you heard, saw, and was taught growing up versus what your soon-to-be spouse, boyfriend, significant other, whatever, heard, saw, two totally different households.
Right. Because she said, hey, listen, I was a single woman before you came into the picture
Yep.
with 2 kids. And this is how I had to handle business.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when you come over here, you can't be that one drop of blue dye that turns my water a different color,
Come on,
brother.
say it.
You gotta be
Get it
you
together.
gotta be clear and fit into this water. And so it made me have to reevaluate, reassess, and totally change how I operated financially. And honestly, I'm in a hell of a lot better place than I was 5 years ago.
But I like that you gave your wife the credit because
For sure.
that's very humbling that you're able to do that because a lot of times I think sometimes men's ego can get in the way of and not that it's a lot of them out there that do that, but you do find that sometimes, especially when it comes to money kind of sometimes make men feel like men. Like I got my money, I'm good with money. Oh, you need some money? Okay, here you go. And it's just kind of like, when you start talking about, hey, my money, she told me that I needed to get it together and I got it together is really, profound because sometimes I think people can run away from that, especially if it's coming from a woman.
For sure.
Sometimes. But anyway, retirement talk with Mel. So when we talk about retirement talk, I think sometimes that word confuses people. They're like, oh, I'm good with retirement. Oh, I got a long time before I retire. And I just want to talk about that, retirement is a proactive word. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. And so we have many vehicles that we can use for retirement. We talk about individual accounts, like whether that's a qualified account at work, if that's your 401k or your 403b or 457 for somebody that might work for a state municipality. Educators have 403Bs. Then we talk about businesses and organizations. The Flawless Women's Network, can have, a simple employee plan just for under the business where business and entrepreneurs can shelter, I believe now it's up to $66,000 a year in their business retirement plan and use that to shelter money for retirement. Then we have churches and clergy that can utilize the 403b9 to create retirement for them, and their retirement they can take it as a housing allowance and it's non-taxable distributions to them. And so there are many different vehicles that we can use. One thing that is important for everybody to know in the listening audience is whether you have a lot of money that you've worked for and you've acquired, whether you have money that you've inherited, whether you're working from ground up and you don't have anything, it's important to work with someone like myself and Crystal so that you can get at least a head start and we can help guide you and navigate you to get that going. Don't think that financial services is just for people with money. It's for everybody. The main thing that I focus on though is public school educators, and my services are for public school educators. The premise of it is, of course it can go beyond that, but for public school educators, we're talking about 403B enrollment. We're talking about rollovers, for those that may have lost, leaving a job, whether you want to roll your money into an IRA. We're talking about wealth preservation and security, how to use life insurance to preserve your assets and what you work for, how to use it to build generational wealth and intergenerational wealth. And so it goes back to, again, the individual. It's not just a category of where it's just so broad and this is what everybody needs to do. Everybody is individual and everybody has individual goals. It depends on how old you are. It depends on what you've acquired so far. It depends on, your income and, what you're making and what you're paying out. And then when we scale all of that, then then we can devise a plan. And what I like about what I'm able to do is really create a structure and a track to say, okay, and by, okay, you're 50 now, by the time you're 65, if we do A, B, C, D, you'll have X amount acquired. And so, you know, it's more so for me being able to help you create a routine.
Yeah.
And then put you on track to meet your own personal financial goal.
See, so sometimes people think, you know, you have these shows and you have people on and they're just talking and there's no proof in the pudding, right? So for me personally, and I say this openly, my retirement I got together from Melody. So I met Melody, I signed up, I said, hey, listen, I'm trying to clock out in 10 years, I'm done, signed up with her, and then I turned around and called you on the phone with my wife one night, and we sat up on the phone for an hour, like, Crystal, give us some direction, we trying to buy a home, you know, I trust you, whatever you say I'm going to do. After that conversation, I looked at my credit score, I was like, dang. So since that conversation, my credit score has increased 75 points. I'm telling you, flat out.
Listen,
Flat out, 75 points.
And I'm going to be talking to you too, Crystal, because there's some things I want to do
I'm not
too.
playing out here in
Yeah.
these streets. I'm
And
not.
you gave a real life example of, and I was thinking of it when Melody was talking, but you just gave a real life example of it. There's so much you have to have. I always tell people you have to build your financial dream team. You have to have it. You don't know. What is your PhD in?
Management, organizational management.
Organizational management. It is not in finance. It is not.
Not
in
at all.
finance. It is not in healthcare.
Not at
right.
all.
So just like you going to the dentist, you know, preventative, getting your teeth cleaned.
Right.
You gotta have your financial dream team helping you
Absolutely.
do that thing as well, so that you can. And it's like you can't wait until, oh, I want to retire in 3 years. You ain't got 2 nickels saved.
Right.
How you?
I mean, look,
how you gonna do that?
PhD or not, I said, listen here, you need to get on the phone with me and my wife. You need to break this down for us so we
Yes.
can get this going.
Yeah.
And she broke it down for us, and we got it going, and we
Yep.
signed up for the insurance policies. I signed up for the annuity hookup. I'm good.
So let me
I
ask you
fell in
this:
every
was your
place.
conversation with Crystal after you talked to me, then you talked to Crystal? Was anything that she said kind of helped solidify some of the things that we talked about or that we did, or was it like 2 different kind of
I think
it was
subjects?
kind of two different
it was
conversations.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
because the conversation I had with you, I was so done wrapped. It was good.
Right.
I felt. Then when I logged in and saw everything happening, that's what made me feel really cocky, right? Because I'm looking at the numbers, even though I'm just starting.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can
It's
see down the road, right?
accumulating, yeah.
When I talk with Crystal, just having a conversation with her about her background. The questions that I asked were really distinctly different because now I'm trying to make a decision in terms of what I want to be attached to long term.
Gotcha.
That's why I said rent or buy, those type. Because I'm saying, listen, I'm 55 years old. If I get a house now and get a mortgage,
Is that even
I'm
smart?
renting that house long term
Yeah.
because there's a possibility I may never have that property paid off before I die, and then if I drop dead, my wife gonna have to try to figure it out.
No, because you're gonna have something in place that if you drop dead, it's gonna
pay it off.
It's gonna pay it off.
That she
Right.
doesn't
or,
have to.
or that.
Right.
And some people don't do that though.
Oh God, no.
Right. Some people don't do that,
Right.
and it winds up being a debt for the other person.
Correct.
So that's why I was saying, listen, I think I want to really try to get. I need to talk to somebody who can explain to me. I'm humble enough to tell me something that I don't understand and help
That's
me
right.
learn what I need to learn.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's how you, to me, that's how you start to build that wealth when you're humble enough to say, teach me.
Teach me.
Yeah.
Teach me.
And then ask the questions.
I don't know who would work with anybody other than me and Melody that's on this, that's listening, but
Right. Duh.
Right.
And but I want to.
But if you do,
Yeah.
ask the questions, and if they're not giving you answers, then that's not who you want to work with.
Absolutely. I was reading in the book called The Millionaire Next Door, and we're getting ready to wrap this up.
Yeah.
But it talked about, you have financial professionals and people that may have gone to, Ivy League schools or, Harvard, Yale, and they've got these high scores and blah, 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 and all these things behind their name. But it does not mean that they're honest.
Or for you.
And so, what you want is somebody that, even if they don't have maybe that answer to that question right away, they can in honesty say, okay, you know what, I don't know that right now. Let me get the information I need and I'll get back to you on that. And just service you from a organic, honest way and really has good intentions toward you. And then we talk about financial literacy. You know, we're talking about credit and small business management and all this stuff. So, so many things we can talk about. We'll talk about Melodic Retirement Services is there to help you retire healthy and wealthy. Why? Because if you have wealth and you don't have health, it means nothing.
Amen
and
to that.
So,
Amen to that.
Contact me directly. Send me an email or a text to 248-301-2439. And this is another episode of The Real Nonsense with Chris and Mel.
It is. And thank you, Crystal Gunn, entrepreneur, podcast host, founder of the Amazing Woman Network, member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
That's this.
Right. That's that. So, hey, we're in the house. It's The Real Nonsense where we make it make.
We make it make sense.
There we go.
Peace out, y'all. Shalom, shalom.